He was supposed to be celebrating the biggest news of his life. Instead, he was feeling guilty, exposed, and heartbroken. For most people, finding out you're about to become a parent is the kind of moment that changes everything in the best possible way. Quiet mornings turn into planning sessions, and every thought is wrapped around what's coming next. It's joy, anxiety, and excitement all rolled into one. But for Pete Davidson, it came with something else: pressure, guilt, and the kind of emotional weight that fame never warns you about. In a moment that should have been private, intimate, and celebrated in peace, Pete and his girlfriend Elsie Hewitt found themselves caught in a situation they never asked for and couldn't stop. Just weeks after news broke that the two were expecting their first child, Pete sat down for an interview and shared something raw, something most celebrities would never admit. He wasn't just frustrated, he was devastated, because once again, fame had stolen something sacred from him, and this time, it affected someone he deeply cared about. What Pete revealed next had fans rethinking everything they thought they knew about the price of being in the spotlight. Just a month after the world learned that, Pete Davidson and model Elsie Hewitt were expecting their first child. The headlines made it sound like a picture-perfect moment. Another Hollywood couple sharing their exciting baby news. End of story, right? But when Pete finally spoke up during his August 13th interview on The Breakfast Club, what he revealed caught everyone off guard. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't glowing. He was gutted, not because of the baby. He made it clear he was thrilled about becoming a father, but because the moment didn't happen on their terms. According to Pete, a few media outlets had caught wind of the pregnancy early, and surprisingly, instead of rushing to publish, they reached out, offering a rare chance to delay the news. They were super cool, Pete said. They gave us 2 or 3 months. That never happens in his world. But even that short window of peace didn't last. The pressure to leak the story kept growing. Rumors started circling online, and eventually, Pete and Elsie were forced to go public, not because they were ready, but because they had no choice. The joy of becoming parents, something deeply personal and sacred, was yanked out of their hands and plastered across headlines before they could even process it themselves. What should have been a private celebration turned into a public spectacle. And for Pete, the emotional toll was immediate. Most people in his position would shrug it off. After all, fame comes with attention, right? But Pete couldn't. He admitted, in one of the rawest moments of the interview, that he felt guilty and horrible. Not because Elsie ever blamed him. In fact, he made it clear she never made him feel that way. But internally, he was wrecked. This was supposed to be her time, a peaceful pregnancy, away from the chaos. Instead, she had to go through one of the most intimate human experiences with the world watching, and Pete couldn't stop thinking about how fame, his fame, had stolen that from her. And for Pete Davidson, this wasn't a one-time thing. It was part of a pattern he's been trying to escape for years. If there's one thing Pete Davidson has been brutally honest about, it's the toll of fame. From the outside, it might look like he's living the dream, dating celebrities, starring in movies, headlining comedy specials. But if you listen closely, Pete's been sending out distress signals for years. His high-profile relationships, Ariana Grande, Kim Kardashian, Kate Beckinsale, weren't just tabloid candy. They were emotional roller coasters played out in front of millions. Every public appearance became a headline. Every breakup, a debate, every personal struggle, a trending topic. He's even joked about it, saying dating him is like being with the store-brand version of a celebrity. Funny on the surface, but if you sit with that comment for more than a second, it stings. It speaks to how he sees himself, not as a person, but as a headline waiting to happen. And now, with a child on the way, that fear has grown into something more real. This isn't just about him anymore. It's about someone he loves, someone innocent, being pulled into the chaos he's tried so hard to manage. He wasn't trying to be dramatic. He wasn't fishing for sympathy. He was just telling the truth, something few people in his position ever get to do without backlash. Because this time, it wasn't about Pete trying to survive fame. It was about trying to shield someone else from it and realizing he couldn't. And that kind of helplessness doesn't come with a punchline. It just leaves scars. When Pete spoke about the pregnancy announcement being forced, it wasn't just frustration. It was grief. Not the kind that comes with tragedy, but the quiet, hollow kind that creeps in when something meaningful is taken away without warning. He described how the moment was supposed to be beautiful, one of those rare, sacred life milestones people dream about, a peaceful celebration between two people stepping into the unknown together. But instead, it was snatched, twisted into content, and served up for public consumption. And what made it worse? He felt like he was to blame, not because he did anything wrong, but because his fame made privacy impossible. He said it softly, without bitterness, but you could hear the weight in his voice, like a man realizing once again that his life is no longer just his own. He's been here before, but this time, it affected someone else, someone who didn't sign up for this life. And the harsh truth? Pete's not alone. Every year, celebrities are ambushed during their most vulnerable moments. Engagements leaked, pregnancies exposed, losses turned into headlines. Nothing is off limits, not even the joy of expecting your first child. But Pete's honesty hit different because he wasn't performing. He wasn't trying to protect an image. He was just sad. For a guy who spent years turning pain into punchlines, this time there was no joke coming. And for someone who's built a career laughing through the hurt, this time the silence said everything. Let's be real. Pete Davidson's entire brand has always been built on self-deprecating humor. Whether it's his mental health, his rocky love life, or his childhood trauma, nothing has ever been off limits in his comedy. He's the guy who'll make fun of himself before anyone else can, and that's what's made him so relatable, so watchable. But over the years, one thing has become increasingly clear. The jokes aren't just comedy, they're armor. Pete has been through things most people can't even imagine. He lost his father in the 9/11 attacks when he was just 7 years old, an unimaginable loss that shaped him forever. He's spoken openly about depression, trauma, and multiple stints in rehab. He's battled suicidal thoughts, endured relentless media scrutiny, and even had to defend his own mental illness while performing on live television. And yet, through it all, he kept showing up, kept making people laugh, kept pretending like none of it really got to him. But this moment, this wasn't a setup for a punchline. This wasn't an edgy joke wrapped in sarcasm. This was a man sitting in a studio, trying not to break while talking about one of the happiest moments of his life, and how it got turned into something painful. The way he said it, soft-spoken, hesitant, almost like he wasn't sure he was even allowed to feel this way. It cut through all the noise, because for once, Pete wasn't the comic relief. He was just human, and for someone who's made a career out of laughing through the hurt, the fact that there was no joke this time, that said more than any punchline ever could. It wasn't a bit, it was a breaking point. This wasn't a gossip headline. It wasn't clickbait. It was a man confronting the brutal reality of being watched, always. A moment that should have been deeply personal became public property, and Pete was left picking up the emotional pieces. And yet, even through all of that, Pete still managed to show something unexpected: gratitude. He said he felt lucky that the press gave him even a few weeks before the story broke. He acknowledged that it could have been worse, and in his world, that's considered a win. But think about that for a second. When the best case scenario is that the media delays announcing your pregnancy by a few weeks, just so you can breathe, that says everything about how broken this system really is. Because no matter how respectful you are, how silent you stay, or how much you try to protect your privacy, it's never enough. The public always wants more. The cameras always come closer. And the personal moments you cherish most, they're constantly at risk of being taken from you. Pete's confession wasn't just about the media. It was about something much deeper: the emotional cost of always being visible. And for someone like Pete, who's been chased by headlines since his 20s, this was more than just a one-time experience. It was a breaking point, a moment of clarity, a line crossed where he realized that even his most joyful milestones could be reshaped into someone else's content. He wasn't angry. He wasn't bitter. He was just tired. Because that's what fame really does. It doesn't just take your privacy. It chips away at your peace, your milestones, your memories. And when you lose that, even joy becomes something you have to protect, something you have to fight for. Because in a world that profits off your pain, even happiness feels like it comes with a price tag. Pete Davidson's story isn't just another headline. It's a reminder that even at your happiest, fame can find a way to steal the peace. That in a world obsessed with constant updates, even something as sacred as starting a family can become a spectacle. Behind the jokes and interviews, there's a guy just trying to be present for his partner and his unborn child. He's not chasing the spotlight. He's trying to outrun it. And maybe that's the part we forget. We treat celebrities like storylines, like characters in a never-ending reality show we feel entitled to watch, critique, and comment on. But they're not. They're real people, living messy, emotional lives, just like the rest of us. The only difference? Their most intimate moments get replayed in front of millions, often without their consent. Pete's confession pulled back the curtain in a way few celebrities ever do. It wasn't for clout. It wasn't part of a promo tour. It was raw, unfiltered, honesty from someone who's been hurt, not by love, but by exposure. What Pete shared wasn't polished. It wasn't scripted. It was vulnerable, honest, human, and maybe, just maybe, it's time we stop treating celebrities like characters and start seeing them for what they really are: people trying to love, heal, and live without having to explain every second of it to the world. Because sometimes the most powerful thing a person can say is the truth. And sometimes the bravest thing they can do is say it anyway.